All right. Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to today's show. We are still celebrating autism. Um, I would say awareness, but I love appreciation. I love that word. Y'all funny. Listen, these are my cousins right here. This is family right here. We have Ameenah, Lorenzo. This is my family right here discussing some parent engagement and autism. And they have my beautiful little cousin LJ with them, and just a beautiful family. And I thought having them on would be just awesome to bring awareness and to bring appreciation to this month. So before we get started, let's go into prayer. All right. Father God, thank you again for this day. Thank you for your wisdom and knowledge. Thank you for allowing us to appreciate and to bring awareness to neurodivergency, especially this month. Father God, I ask that you lead our discussion, that you center yourself in our discussion and bring awareness, and who needs to hear this conversation, let them hear. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Awesome. All right. So my beautiful cousins, Ameenah and Lorenzo, just to start off, can you tell us a little bit about what it felt like to have my cousin diagnosed with autism?
You want to start or me? Me? Okay. So what it felt like, are you talking about the day of diagnosis or like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How old was he, first of all, when he got diagnosed?
He was 4.
Mm-hmm.
He was 4 years old. Yes, he was 4 years old. It was February of 2020, so a month before COVID.
Wow.
COVID. And so, but the day of, I felt, I guess, a sense of, I wasn't sad about it, but it was more about a sense of like relief, because now I know. I had a feeling. That's what it was. So I was more like, okay. Y'all said what I kind of thought. Didn't really want to hear it. I'm not going to be like saying, oh, but it just confirmed my suspicions that I had probably already felt for at least a couple of years. Wow. And so that's how I felt. How you felt?
Yeah.
Lorenzo had different feelings.
I just wanted to stay out of jail because he was making me so mad all the time.
What was my cousin doing?
Then it took everything in me to stop from choking him.
Oh, Lord.
Just choking him. And she said something was wrong with him. I said, yeah, it is. And
hold on, you were real about it. Like you were like, yeah. I felt that there was something going on.
I ain't gonna really say that. Like she kept saying it.
I kept saying it.
I was in denial.
Okay.
I said, ain't nothing wrong with him. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. So of course, she do her little background paperwork and all this old stuff, and I don't know. I guess they do the spectrum thing and all that other good stuff.
But I remember you saying the day of when we walked out of there, you said, "My boy don't have autism."
I probably did.
You did.
When you walked out the testing center or the place that got diagnosed. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So if that's the case, then I have autism.
So that was hard.
You said that too. You like, if that's the case, I have it.
So hold up. So it was hard for you to accept then? Yeah. Right away. Yeah.
I think they put that title on kids kind of like real quick. You know what I'm saying? They quick to try to diagnose them. Oh, you got autism, or you got this, or you got that. You got no better autism.
That's right.
Yes, we do.
Ameenah, me and you were talking about that yesterday. You and I were talking about calling a thing a thing. Yeah, that was what you said. That resonated.
Calling a thing, because here's the thing. LJ had already started speech therapy. Okay, so before we even got the diagnosis, he had already been in speech therapy about 6 months at that point.
Yeah.
And so, because, he was not talking.
Yeah.
I mean, he barely said, I mean, he may have said a handful of words,
Okay.
but he was, you know, wasn't pointing at things. Like all the things you read about with milestones with kids, he wasn't pointing for what he wanted. He wasn't asking for what he wanted. He wasn't even saying mommy, daddy. That was another thing that kind of broke me. I was like, he's not even saying mommy and daddy.
Yeah.
He's not saying, you know, if he sees grandmom or pop or, you know, naming his friends in school. So, you know, every day he get home from school, we say, even though we knew he wouldn't say anything, still kind of asked like, how was school? You know, what about your friends? Just trying to, you know, start a conversation.
Yeah.
And, but when he wasn't talking, I mean, that was the biggest red flag. Like,
The biggest red flag. Yeah.
you know, and the thing is, he did all the baby cooing and, he was starting to do all like the, you know, waving hello. So in the first like year seemed like everything was okay.
Right.
And I would say even up to a year and a half, because he was always smiley. Wasn't he like happy?
Very
like
smiley.
Happiest
You
baby.
know when he got older because he wasn't talking.
He stopped. Yeah, he wasn't talking.
Why he talking?
So I'm like, why is he not talking?
And
then we asked the doctor. So before we got the evaluation, when he was like 2, said, why is he not talking? So they's like, oh, I mean, this is a doctor.
Yeah.
He's a boy. Boys take a little longer.
That's the main thing that people say. Oh, he's a boy.
Yeah,
girls talk earlier than boys.
Yep. Yeah. And me and Renzo went to every doctor's appointment for him. All his well child visits, we always did together. And he said, well, is he doing this, mom? Is he whatever questions they ask you about other milestones? I'm like, yes. And because LJ had very good eye contact,
right.
and he had he had different ranges of emotions. He was able to respond to yours. I think it kind of threw people off, even me. I was like, well, maybe it is just a speech delay. Maybe he just have a speech delay. So, but when we started speech therapy, I said, okay, he's going to be 4 years old soon. We need to get on this. So I just did my research, trying to find a good center and found an awesome place for him to go. And, we went every week. And it was
this was for speech therapy, or was it
therapy? Okay. And it was a sensory gym as well. So he got to, you know, have fun before and after his sessions. And but we the speech therapist, after the 6-month mark, she did a re-evaluation. And that's when she also said, I think he needs further evaluation. Wow. And so at that point we got connected with Elwin.
Okay.
And then we had a wonderful caseworker that was like, she was on it. She met him. They evaluated him at daycare. She was like, yep, further evaluations needed. And then I've heard stories where people take a year to get an evaluation and diagnosis. It took from the point of that Elwin evaluation. I would say within 8 weeks, we had a diagnosis.
Wow. And Elwin, can you tell everybody Elwin that
Elwin, is don't quote me on this, y'all, but I think Elwin is an organization that works with special needs children. And so I think from like 5 and under, from the age of 5 and under, if you have a child with, you know, differences, they will come and do those evaluations. They have social workers, caseworkers, etc., who provide services, and they work with a number of like alternative schools and things like that, and get you the right resources to get you the help you need. So his caseworker was amazing because she really, I think she pulled some strings. Get him, because I remember she sat here at this table and she said, I like y'all. You remember that?
No.
Candia was here. Old people.
She was here in the house?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
He was sitting here. So Candia, remember his old teacher? The Asian woman was the caseworker. Candia.
You must have back.
So they come to the house and it's like here, like we have Perform Care in New Jersey.
Right.
So Elwin is a children's behavioral health services, and they get you hooked up with services.
Exactly.
I think, and that's for children who are 0 to 3 or 3 to 5.
0 to 5. Because once they enter kindergarten, they're out of the picture.
Awesome.
Or zero, really zero. Well, 0 to once. I guess you could say right before kindergarten. So I would say like a safe number is 0 to 5
because by the time they're 5, they're in the school.
They're in the school district.
They would get eval
right.
At the
exactly.
School. Okay. So I'll put that in the show notes and in our YouTube channel and also on Facebook and pages. I'll put that in the show notes, the Elwyn number and everything. Just text it to me and absolutely.
I mean, and I know everybody has different experiences, but we had a good experience with them. And his preschool teacher at the time, she was instrumental because it was funny. She went through that whirlwind with us. She was a new daycare owner. Mm-hmm. She wasn't new to the work, but new to having her own center.
Right.
But LJ being her first student and so we were all on the same page. LJ was her first student with autism.
Wow.
And so she was the same way. Like at first we had the same conversations. We were like, they're gonna label our baby. Yeah. She was like, there's nothing wrong with him. I'm gonna work with him because he has some. Remember, LJ wouldn't feed himself. Mm-hmm. He would not eat. He would not feed himself.
He wouldn't pick up the fork or anything.
He wouldn't pick up the fork or spoon. And I remember her saying, y'all still feeding him, ain't y'all? I said, what?
Isn't this the classic? And I can only speak about, the Black community, but I've heard this a lot, especially with parents in our own family, like ain't nothing wrong with that kid. He just, or ain't nothing wrong. All you got to do is stop, so we do this thing because why do you think we're scared of the label? Why do you think for us, for Black? Hey, my cousin.
What's up? Say hi.
Hi. What's going on? This is
He trying to run. He trying to run.
He's trying to run.
Beast is with her cousin. Is this your cousin talking to her?
What's up, cousin? He's like, wait a minute. I don't know. She'll be
coming around. You want to stay or you want to leave? All right, well, go ahead. I'll get you back.
Okay, that's all good. But why do you think we get scared of the label? Or not get scared, but we avoid it?
I think because we're labeled with black folks are just labeled with all kinds of things. We're labeled as lazy. You're labeled as sick. You're labeled as being criminalistic. You're labeled as not being smart enough. Whatever the labels are. And I think that there's a lot of historic reasons why, especially with boys.
Yeah,
I would say with Black boys, because Black men have a lot of challenges. And so if you label your Black child and specifically a Black boy, it's almost like, that old school, like it's going to follow me forever. It's part of my record.
Yes. Yeah.
And unlike a criminal record or some kind of personnel record, this is not the same. These are medical records. Yeah. And yes, if anybody's ever engaged with a medical doctor or behavioral health services, or that's not something that's like easily pulled out, right? Yeah. That's personal health information. And so, but I think that when we're talking about issues like this, you need to what we were saying earlier or yesterday, you need to name that thing what it is, because you got to be able to know what you're dealing with and how to help that person, right? I told Lorenzo I think it was days after the diagnosis, I said to him, it would be, what did I say? I said, how dare we not help him? Because if it was somebody else's child and we saw some things going on with someone else's child, we'd be right back here talking like they need to get that child looked at.
Right.
We've all had this conversation. They need to have that child looked at. I've had it. I've said it.
Yeah.
And so, if we never got LJ speech therapy and all these things, he would be 8 years old like he is now, still maybe not talking as much as he can now. And then people will go home and say, they need to get that boy looked at. He's doing
Wow.
Right. And so
yeah,
I said to him, like, I've worked in social services for a long time. Mm-hmm. I've helped a lot of people get resources. Yeah. So I ain't gonna come home and then not help my own child.
No, for real.
That's That's crazy to me.
That's
if
amazing.
if we broke a leg, we would go to the doctor.
Right.
You know, so it's and plus I think the last part, I think with labels for me personally, it's like you have an image of your child in your head. When I was pregnant, you know, you just kind of have all these fantasies and like what it's going to be like. And I never thought about this.
Yeah.
I think I was more concerned about deformities, like making sure he have all his fingers and toes, his heart was inside his chest. But I didn't think about autism.
Wow. Yeah.
So when
it doesn't cross your mind when you're pregnant. When you're pregnant, you have, like you said, you have all these fantasies. Oh, my baby going, I got this Harvard graduate inside of me, and he's going to be this and that. And I think that's what. And not saying that people with autism can't go to Harvard, because I'm sure a good amount
they do.
Yeah. But it's the expectation of the parent. It's like we put these. Sometimes those big expectations become limitations to a certain degree, because it's like I want my child to do this. I want my child to do that, and we forget that our child is 50%. You know, the mom and dad, but really 100% themselves. And we don't know what God has in store. You know what I mean? So, and how do you intentionally love throughout all of that? Because that's what the role is guidance and love, right? Not to designate what your child is going to be, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like you said, it's so important to name a thing. And I think we are scared, like as a result of the labels that we do get, especially for our boys in the Black community. Because it happened to me when my son had to go to speech therapy. It was like, you know, and then also on the other end, I would say the fault in actually labeling what it actually is on the parents' part. But on other people's part, when family members see something is wrong, or people see something is wrong, we beat around the bush. And we're scared to even say what it is. And we tell other people, but we don't really go to the person, the main source, and say, you know what? I believe your child is great, but let's work on this. Let me help you get the resources to work on this. We're scared to do that. Yeah. And I say, from my experience, instead of, you know, the person outside the family or outside the parents whispering and saying, you know, I don't think something right, go to the parent. You know, at this point, especially, you know, right now and in this day and age, go to the parent and be like, you know what, I think that there's a lot of great things about your child, but I believe there's resources to deal with this. So let's do that together. Because kind of whisper down the lane, it causes that idea, that dysfunction, that I don't want my child labeled, because now look at what people doing. They whispering, they doing this and doing that, you know, and that happens a lot. And I can only speak about Black families, but that happens a lot in Black families, our family, you know. And so that's how we can kind of break that dysfunction, you know, really naming it what it is with each other, other's resource. Because y'all have been really resourceful as a couple. I mean, y'all have worked together to figure this thing out. And LJ has, I mean, he's blossomed.
Yeah.
Truly blossomed. Y'all should be proud of yourselves for that.
Thank you.
Lorenzo, what's the biggest obstacle you had to overcome in this whole thing?
I don't know.
It's hard as a dad, because you were with him a good amount. Wasn't he with him a little bit more?
He was with Renzo a lot more in the beginning.
The biggest obstacle? I don't know. That's a good question. Men don't think like that. we don't think like that.
Y'all just do it.
Yeah, all I know is protecting him. That's it. I don't want nobody taking advantage of it.
That's the biggest obstacle.
That's the most it is. Yeah. You just don't want nobody taking advantage of it. Because he's a good kid, you know?
He's a great kid.
He's a good kid, man. And you just want to protect him. That's all. That's it.
Yeah. I love it.
That's my obstacle.
Papa Bear stance. I call him Papa Bear.
But I love that, because you just, especially with men, they just do. Like, you know, we're going to go through all the motions and all that, but y'all just do. I just know I got to protect my child. That's what I know.
Yeah.
That's it.
I would say my biggest obstacle was You know what it was? I think he had a period of time where he really was before, I would say before speech therapy and when he first started. So maybe a good year. Because I was trying to accept the fact that some children never will verbally communicate. So not knowing what that would be. Is he always going to be nonverbal, or will he eventually talk? And because we are talking people, you want your child to talk. Because the thing was, I wanted him to be able to express if somebody did something to him. Absolutely. That was one of the reasons why we delayed childcare, because he really wasn't able to communicate, and he couldn't tell me or Renzo, mommy, daddy, this thing happened at school, or I don't like how this person did this, whatever. He couldn't tell us if it was good, bad, or indifferent. Right. So in my mind's eye, I'm not putting him in daycare if he can't even come home and tell me what's going on right now. Yeah. Yeah. So, but eventually we had to, LJ, mommy and daddy are talking.
He said that's enough now.
Yeah.
So,
what, boy?
He wants you to help him with something. You need help?
Well, I'm helping.
What you say, Lawrence?
I'm helping. I'm gonna quiet him right on up.
So silly.
You ain't gonna hear him talk no more.
Listen, my little cousin is, I wouldn't even say spoiled, but he is loved.
Yes.
He's loved.
Can you wait for us to finish talking to cousin?
He said it's 9:00 on a Saturday. Tripping.
Come back.
Yeah, because y'all talking anyway. I don't know why y'all ain't got me on this. You is Oprah.
Well, go help him and come back. Go help him and come back.
I love Lorenzo, but no, you're right. I mean, this is it's I guess you would say scary to think that there, if anything were to happen to me, how is my child going to get along?
Oh yeah, I mean, those thoughts honestly been coming more. Though that particular thought has been more of a thing in the last couple of years because he's getting older, and we're older parents. I mean, we're not old people, but we are older parents. We didn't have him in our 20s and stuff. I was 36 when I had LJ. Renzo was 42, right? Yeah. So, or 43. So now I'm 44. Renzo's 51. Yeah. And so you do think like that. But I think that going back to when he was younger, we delayed a few things, just because we were afraid. But once I said, Renzo, he needs to go get a life. This little boy needs to socialize, and we had to kind of like let him see the world, in his own little 3-year-old, way. In his way. The time, or he was 2.5 when he started daycare. So, and you know what? Even though he was nonverbal for most of preschool, he was so vibrant. I mean, it was like he turned into a different kid because he was around his peers. He was in a setting with like I said, the previous preschool teacher. She was on it. She got him. I mean, we all did it because she used to say, he's going to feed himself. He is going to feed himself. He will be potty trained. All those
she spoke that life into him.
Yeah, she was like, we're going to do it all. And she was like,
what we're going to do. Right.
Yeah, she said, but y'all got to do it at home. Like, I'm only with him this many hours, and y'all got to do the rest at home. So me and her talked a lot off during, on weekends, anything. So, but yeah, I mean, by the time he was 3 years old, he was potty trained, and he was feeding himself, and he went on the eating strike. He would not feed himself. And she called, I'll never forget that story, because this boy, she was like, Mom, he's still being resistant, and I don't have time to feed him every meal. She said, what do you want to do? I said, I think we got to practice a little tough love.
Uh-oh.
And she was like, what's that? I said, well, the old school. You don't eat, you don't eat. Listen, because nobody's depriving you of a meal.
Right. We putting it right in front of you.
It's right in front of you. And you sitting around that table with 7 of your friends and they eating. So if you don't eat, and we made sure he had the food he liked, because
Yeah.
Sit there. He went 8 days. That boy did not eat a meal in 8 days.
Wow.
He survived off, I'm not lying, Cheez-Its and juice and water.
Wow.
Because he would not put that spoon to his mouth.
Wow.
I mean, at home and at school, he just wouldn't.
Yeah.
And it was the hardest thing. That you want to talk about hard? That was the hardest thing to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
To almost feel like you're denying him food.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember my mom saying he gonna eat when he's hungry.
Right, I heard that.
When he's hungry, he gonna eat.
You gonna eat when you're hungry.
He gonna eat, and I was like, but he's surviving off crackers. Like
he was. I mean, but LJ was determined. Like, y'all finna feed me.
Y'all gonna feed me. But this thing is like, sit here, because he'll sit here like, his hands folded, like, you're gonna feed me. And I didn't, and I never forget. It was another day. I was making him some cream of wheat.
Wow.
I put the bowl in front of him, thinking he ain't gonna eat. I turned around, he was eating that food. I said, oh, so you can eat.
Oh, you can do this. Yeah.
And from that day forward, he never looked back, and you see him now. Okay, that's a big boy.
Wow.
So,
that tough love. I mean, but it wasn't even really tough. It was just that you knew that
he could do it. If you could put Cheez-Its in your mouth, right? He didn't have a some children do have grasping issues. Like,
so that's when you do the hand over hand kind of thing.
Yeah, so we did a lot of hand over hand, try to put, but he didn't have a motor issue. The gross motor skills,
gotcha.
Fine motor skills, his gross and fine motor skills were on point.
Okay, good.
So he could pick up a crayon and color.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He could pick up a pencil and write.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could do those things, you could pick up a spoon and eat.
Wow.
So that's how we knew that it wasn't so much his motor and fine motor skills or gross motor skills. It was him being stubborn. And also, I guess at that point, you're learning about autism and how like these things can look, what it could look like. And that part of it is his stubbornness, and part of it was his, I guess, autism symptoms. This being like, the routine was mommy or daddy feeds me. I don't feed myself. They feed me.
Right.
And then he had to learn, like, you're too old to feed to not feed yourself.
Yeah.
So, and it was a lot of things like that. Getting dressed, anything that was independent.
Yeah.
So I remember picking him up from school and, grabbing him and get his coat, and Candy said, he can do it himself.
The teacher said that.
Mm-hmm. I said, no, I said, we put his coat. She said, he could do it. She said, watch. She said, LJ, go get your coat.
Wow.
She said, watch. He put the hood on his head, put his arm through. Only thing he needed help with the zipper. I said,
wow.
And again, it was just like okay, I'm not going to help you no more. So we had to get helped to stop helping him.
Yeah.
Because we felt like, and I think it wasn't because we didn't have a diagnosis at this point. So there was no diagnosis. I just think that maybe us being very protective over him, and we just did everything for him.
And as parents, there's a still voice inside of your parent. Mm-hmm. When you get that overprotective nature, like in your mind, you're like, there's a delay somewhere, right? Yeah. And so but again, going back to it's hard to call a thing, but you do know. And anytime you have that feeling of there's something that we need to do, I don't know if this is a delay or any question you have, get the evaluation, seek the resources, seek help, because it's not that your child can't function in the world. They need to function differently, and there's nothing.
They need to function differently, and because autism, up until that, LJ and my family, his family, Renzo's side, my side, it without a conversation piece, nobody has talked about. I mean, autism. It wasn't a thing I grew up knowing. It wasn't a thing that Renzo grew up knowing. It wasn't something my mom grew up knowing, or his mom, or my dad, or his dad. Like, nobody grew up knowing this. Thing is, it's there. Now we know. Now it's there, but we didn't know. And again, you know, we grew up with kids maybe like my son, who didn't receive services or interventions, grow up to act out. So you just say they're bad. Oh, they bad kids, them bad kids. Some of those bad kids actually were dealing with neurodivergence, but it was not caught. It wasn't evaluated because it wasn't a thing. Yeah,
it wasn't a thing. Yeah,
we in the 80s.
Because the things that we said in place of autism or whatever, and it's never a substitute, but we heard the words retarded. We heard
that's what we heard.
He's stupid, or you know, we heard so many negative words. I mean, in our
we saw the extreme version of behavioral health when we were kids, like you said, mental retardation. Those kids who maybe they couldn't talk, they were in wheelchairs. Like there was a whole class of them maybe in school, and you maybe saw them once or twice in the hallway.
There were so many jokes about the short yellow bus and all these.
The short yellow bus.
You know, I tell my kids now to this day, I'd be like,
"Oh my God,
I was that kid that had to get taken out of class to go get math and reading help. I am nowhere near ashamed of saying that today, because I know there were a lot of kids who got nothing but A's who aren't doing as well right now as me. Not to compare, but I got the help.
You got the help.
I got the help.
And I mean, and now that my son, I mean, this year he's not on a smaller bus, but when he first started, like first grade, they did have the shorter yellow bus. And, you know, I never was quite comfortable with that term, short yellow bus, but I certainly laughed at it if I heard it, you know.
Right.
You know, but I will say that, I think that, you know, it's all kinds of kids who take that bus.
Absolutely.
Right? Some of those kids are not autistic. Some have other behavioral issues or
other sensory issues, being around a whole bunch of, to this day, we
anxiety.
have adults that say, social anxiety. We have adults that say, "Oh, I'm not a people person. Oh, I don't like people. I ain't got." A lot of times, I be thinking in my mind, like, these are the adults that sometimes who were children probably had sensory processing issues. It's not necessarily autism, but we could sit here and make fun of the short yellow bus all we want to. But sometimes that yellow bus, the short yellow bus, is because there's too much stimuli on the larger bus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you know, so with LJ's autism, it manifests like verbal communication delays. And more now, when he first was his first speech diagnosis was what do they use the word? And when I heard this, it kind of broke my heart. I was like, what do they call it? Either way, it was like expressive.
Oh, expressive language delay?
Yeah, so receptive and expressive speech delay.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it was the word they used before, I cannot remember the word, but it was basically saying like it was pretty bad. So I was just like, oh my God, like not only do you have a speech delay, is like both, you know, expressive and receptive, like he's not understanding. So now I'm at a point like, what parts when we talk do he understand, what parts do he not understand? And okay, I get the part he can't express himself, I could deal with that, but now you told me he can't receive the information. So I'm just like, oh my God. So I just remember going, okay. And so when we were in the throes of speech therapy before the diagnosis, again, the therapist is like, look, I felt like it was a scene out The Color Purple. She was like, put labels on everything in the house.
Oh, okay. The scene from The Color Purple.
Remember she had the label when she was teaching Silly how to read, and she had labeled everything. So we had to do that. And I don't know if you ever came over our house, but it was a point where our house had stickies all over. And so we would have wall, door, doorknob, table, sink, book. wherever it was. And then you literally had to take his hand and go over and say, book, get the book, go get the cup. I remember Rizzo, you could tell.
I'm back, Oprah.
I was telling Rizzo, babe, do you remember when we had everything stickies around the house when he was learning how?
No.
You do. See, he always like, he don't remember nothing. Because I sat here, remember a story where Rizzo was telling LJ, he was like, LJ, go get whatever. It's like, go get something. And LJ could not, it was like, it's right here.
He doing that now.
Yeah, but it was real bad. One time he was like, it's right there, the cup, whatever it was. And I said, babe, I don't think he understands what you're talking about. So you gotta go get up and put his hand on the cup.
Yes.
And so how many frustrating moments we had in this house? I'm like, LJ, yes. See that?
Damn cup.
Grip.
Get the cup out of me. Get the damn cup out of me.
Yes. And so, but it was a lot. I mean, we being real, like it was not always
right.
Hand on hand, because sometimes you forget he don't understand, but you're like, boy, didn't I tell you it's right there?
Listen, okay.
And he looking like his little face like and so then you have to say, oh, wait a minute. He probably doesn't know what the trash can is.
Yeah.
Okay, because you always say put something in the trash. So you gotta say, okay.
Wow.
Put this in the trash.
So it's like you have to actually model the behavior a couple times.
Back then we had to model everything. Absolutely. And so the whole house, I remember I said to you, I said, I feel like a speech therapy house.
I do it like my mom do me now.
What?
Tell her to come get the remote and it'd be like right there in front of me.
But how often does that happen though? Because I know even for Jameson, he got diagnosed with auditory processing disorder, and I think there was expressive language delay.
Okay.
And I know Joshua, it was like they said that he can learn and he's doing well, but he has low academic stamina. And so when I started homeschooling,
that's a new one. We got to talk about that after we talk.
Right. Low academic stamina. He needs a lot of breaks. So I think that was like a
right.
That was a cool way of them
saying the same issues, but they ain't tied to us.
They ain't saying right. They'll say the jargon at the meetings, right?
I was lazy.
So when I started homeschooling, that low academic stamina, it changed into medium to high because I was the expectations. We're going to take breaks, but you finna have a high academic standard. So it's about what you know that child can do. And then also, even with Jameson and you know, having, I would say, expressive language delay and comprehension issues very early, I would mess up and give him more than 2 or 3 directions at a time. Like, go do this, go do this, go do that. I would mess up, and then he would mess up. And then I would get mad. I'm like, what is wrong with you? And I remember I said to myself, because in our family, the adults in our family have heard the word stupid. Yeah. Are you retarded? Are you that happened to me?
What's wrong with you? Yeah.
And I repeated that cycle, and I caught myself, and I said, whoa, let me bring it back. And once I started teaching him and showing him and modeling the behavior, how I wanted him to do it, I would give him 1-step directions. I started there. I would give him 1-step directions. He would complete it. I would praise him. And this is how you break everything. You know, break the generational cycles. You break the habit of saying stupid, retarded, slow, dumb. Those things, those words carry with your child up until forever, because they still carry with me. It gets to the point, I'm 40. I don't want to make a mistake because I don't want to be called stupid. You get what I'm saying?
You know, you said a powerful thing about 1 and 2-step directions, because when we learned, again, when we started the speech therapy, and even to now, it was always like, I started learning about these terms: 1-step, 2-step, 3-step. You know, and that's another thing, rifling through all the paperwork, because you get the diagnosis paperwork, you get the IEPs and all this stuff, and it's like, oh, okay. And understanding that, if I say, LJ, go get me that cup and that rag oh, and put this such and such in the trash, he might get the first or second thing. That third and fourth, he's like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And understanding that sometimes he has his days too, because some days he be on it. Okay, I told him to do 3 things and he did all 3. Then the next day he can't even do 1. Okay, and so respecting the fact that we all have our days where we're on point, and then we have our days where we're not on point. And it is not because he's autistic; it's because he's a human being. Because some days I'm on point. Renzo keep telling me, you keep saying I forget stuff.
What?
You say I forget stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm the one. But I'm like the secretary of the family. I'm the one making sure this appointment, that, this, that, and the other. And then so when somebody says, "Oh, you forgetting something," I'm sorry, just managing a lot. But the same thing with LJ. Some days you could tell he's wiped out from school, because if he had, his academics in school, like, functional academics, right, which is every day. Yeah. Then he had speech therapy and gym that day. Oh, and don't forget the pep rally at the assembly.
That's social battery running out. Right.
And then you come home and you got tutoring for an hour and you got to read for 20 minutes. His little 8-year-old mind, period, is tired.
My 40-year-old mind, that's tired for me.
That's a lot.
Battery is running out.
So you can tell some days he's more wiped out than others.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But no, when you walked away, Renzo, we was talking about how in our families, when we was coming up, we didn't come up with hearing about autism and all that.
Or ADHD or anything.
Or ADHD or all that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what do you guys do? And just to give some tips to people who may have not gotten the diagnosis for their children, or even adults who haven't gotten that diagnosis for themselves, what tips would you give to parents struggling with either how to engage with their child or knowing how to, advocate for their child? What tips would you give?
I'll let Renzo start.
Okay.
Patience.
Yes, I was just about to say patience. Yeah.
A lot of patience.
A lot of patience.
A lot of patience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think I also say get that evaluation. Yeah. If it's your child, like I've had already other people, my peers, have children who are small.
Yeah.
And coworkers. Because I guess I could say I live out loud to a degree. I don't hide the fact that LJ is autistic.
Awesome.
But when people heard me say it, I'll get like, a week or so, "Oh, Ameenah, you were talking about such and such. I'm thinking my son or my daughter." And I always say, look, go get the evaluation.
Go get the evaluation.
Get the evaluation, because we can sit here and pick apart their behaviors.
Yeah.
I'm not the doctor here. I'm not the psychiatrist. I'm not even the professional who deals with this. There are people out here who deal with this.
Yeah.
And so, go get the evaluation, because one thing I used to feel guilty about is when he started speech therapy. I wish I started earlier. Even though he was only 3 at the time, but I wish I would have started the moment I felt what I felt. If I guess being brave enough to face it and just go out there and do it. But I understand my timing. I had to do it in my timing, right?
Yeah.
Being 3 years old in interventions is a good time. I also realize
it's still early.
It's a good time. It's still early.
Yeah.
But go get the evaluation, and just go get the evaluation. And then my last thing is find your people.
Your tribe.
Because since he started school, and he started school during COVID.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother episode, because that period, remember, Renzo, it was so hard when he started school online.
That was hard.
Oh God.
It was hard.
He couldn't take it. Being on the camera, he would run, he would scream, he would hide. He was trying to do speech therapy online, occupational therapy online. I had to set up this living room. Yeah, but remember the speech therapy and this occupation therapy? I'm setting up sandboxes and all this stuff.
Like a classroom in the house.
It was a whole school.
Yeah.
And I had to become, in a way, his speech therapist. And I say even though Renzo's here and I love him, but he told me, he said, baby, that's you. Like, that's you. The speech therapy stuff and all. He was like, I love you. He said, but you better with that than me. And that's okay. You know, because he's telling you, like, I don't have that part. But I had moments where I wanted to cry because he's so upset.
Gotcha.
And then I would say, well, not today, Miss So-and-so. We can't do it today, Miss So-and-so. Because he can't focus. And then we had to figure out, if he can't do this online, but he needs the speech therapy, how are we going to do it? And then it was the speech therapist at the time who said, do you mind if we do this outside, like take a walk?
That's the best.
I said, okay, what are we going to do? She said, scavenger hunt. I said, okay. So she sent me some worksheets and we would go literally outside with the phone and she's doing the FaceTime with him. And so she'll look around, she'll spot something. She's like, LJ, what do you see? He said, a car. He was that was his turning point.
Wow.
When he got out the house.
Yes.
Right? Going out the house and actually like engaging in nature, engaging in all the city sites and stuff like that.
My cousin.
You know, here, you can sit here, LJ. Sit with mommy. Sit down.
LJ. Hey, what's up, handsome? What's going on?
Oh, get mommy phone.
He's like, first of all, I'm gonna sit here. Hi, boo.
Hi, boo.
What's up?
What's up?
Man, he is so handsome, and he's growing beautifully too. You know,
I'm
just so honestly, I'm proud of both you and Lorenzo, because it takes a tribe, it takes a village to really raise a child, and then y'all did it together, you know, and you again, you had to go through a period of like questioning yourself and all that, but you still did it early.
We did it early. And I think even though we had differences, me and Renzo had disagreements along the way, a lot of them actually about certain things, but the point is we did it together, you know, and he definitely, you know, Renzo got his way with him. And
it's important that he has his own way with him because that's dad.
It is important. And they have a really strong bond.
They do.
Know? And, but LJ's found, like I was saying earlier, he finding your people. School allowed us to meet some really great people.
Awesome. And
because of that, we've become friends. And LJ has a best friend now. He has other friends in school that he likes to hang out with. I mean, they hang out. They are hanging out. They out here in these Philadelphia streets.
They out in the streets.
Playgrounds and trampoline parks and birthday parties and you know, pizza nights and things like that. It's good because I know I'm a part of a lot of groups online.
Okay.
And a lot of parents struggle. Like there's one called Philly Autism Group.
Okay.
And a lot of parents just get up there saying, my child don't have any friends. Like the kids at the playground won't play with so-and-so. And how can I get those kids to engage with mine? And you know what? I used to feel that way too when he was younger. And then I got to a point like, you know what? Kids get to a certain point where they're like, that kid's the weird kid. And we all know kids can be cruel. But that process of growing up is hard. And every child's going to go through it. Then you'll be that kid at the playground that nobody plays with because they might think X, Y, and Z. Well, you know what? Go find your people then, because those aren't your people.
Wow.
You know, and that's just the way it is. So it's good to, you know.
What do you mean, your people?
His friends are autistic.
Your people.
His your people, you know what I mean.
No,
it's just like if you go to
hey, you autistic.
No, it ain't that literal. But what I'm saying is, if the kids at the if you go to the playground over and over,
look, he can't stop scratching his neck. Okay, we could be friends. Look. Is that what you gonna do?
No.
His shoes on the wrong foot. Oh, you know what? We could be best friends.
No. You know what I meant. So I don't put him. Look, I don't put him in situations. I try not to put him in situations where, put it like this: when he was like 2, and we go to the playground, other 2-year-olds, there is a little different situation. When they get 5, 6, 7, 8, I can't be. I'm not going to be that mom. You play with my son, I'm not going to be that mother. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
You know, so most of the time he's perfectly okay playing by himself. And then at times he has his friends who some of them are autistic. Okay.
Yeah.
And they could understand each other better than kids who aren't.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about you know, and all his friends who are autistic, they're completely different. They're not the same.
It's called the spectrum for a reason.
They are on a spectrum, and I can look. I'm thinking about two boys in particular.
Yeah,
very different from my son.
Right. And
they are personalities. They're into different things. Period. But they all share this thing, right? And so, and you know, those kids who aren't autistic or neurodivergent, like if you rocking with my son, you are. If you're not, then step aside. It's the same way with, I mean, I got people who rock with me and don't rock with me.
And don't rock with you, right? In different seasons. Yeah. So I think I love what you said. Like being as a parent, you're going to be, when you find out that there's some neurodivergency with your child, you're going to be a little bit more protective, but you can't stop life from lifing.
You can't.
It's impossible. Mm-hmm. And I used to do that with my boys. Mm-hmm. And it's like, they're going to go through heartbreak. They're going to go through disappointment. They're going to go through these things. They're going to go through people, through situations where people are very ignorant, and they're going to start making jokes and all these kinds of things. Mm-hmm. All you can do is guide your child through this process. You can't stop anything from happening.
You can't. I mean, I can tell you a quick story. We have a membership at a trampoline place. Mm-hmm. LJ was, these little girls was bouncing around. So he decided he wanted to bounce with them. He go over there and bounce with them. It was cool till they stopped bouncing. Mm-hmm. Renzo wasn't there this day. And the girls sat down at something. They were sitting down and he sat next to them. And then they like kind of laid down and he laid next to them. Mm-hmm. So everything they did, he was matching what they were doing. Mind you, they don't know him. They knew each other, but they didn't know him. So little girl said, "Stop doing that." And then she just ran. Oh. And so he come back to me looking kind of like the little poo-poo kid. Yeah. And I was like, I said to him, and I saw the whole interaction. I wanted to say, "Oh my God," like, you know, you just want to grab him. But I said, I said, they about to say something. They about to say something to my baby. And they did. And then when he came back, I said, maybe next time you could start with hi. Start with hello. Yeah. Start with a hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Experience is the best teacher.
Yeah. I said, start with hi.
Yeah.
He's going to have a hard time doing that because he's not a conversation starter.
Right.
But he'll get there. That's how I look at it. He'll
he absolutely will. And that experience, you know, the experiences that he's going to go through are going to teach him. And sometimes those experiences are going to teach him better than you can. You know, and how you let that happen, that was powerful because you were there just in case anything else happened. But you let, it reminds me of what's that scene in Ray? You know what scene I'm finna talk about in Ray?
Oh, the mom.
And I think I still tear up to this day over that
scene.
Oh,
well, I see that. I can't not cry. I have to cry.
Right. How can you not cry at that scene where Ray, he just starts going blind? Yeah. And he's bumping into stuff. And then there's
his mom watched the whole thing.
He's calling out his mom's name, and the mom knows that he needs her. But at that point, she knew that he needed her in a different way. She needed to teach him how to go about and navigate this world alone.
Yep.
Because eventually that's what's going to happen. And Ray became, I mean, he had the best nose and hearing senses in the world after that because his mother let him go through those experiences.
And that's the same thing with my son. I think that I will say one thing I like about my son is he's very observant and he's very chill. Mm-hmm. So when he's around other kids, he's that kid that's like just cool. Yeah. And he's not really trying too hard. Mm-hmm. I like that about him. He don't try too hard. He wants to have fun. He wants to laugh. He wants to giggle. But you know what? I think he reads the room really well. He's been in many playground situations, literally playground situations or other outings where he peeps the vibe and he's like, you know what? No, I don't
let you know if this is for him or not.
He'll just go do something else because he's like that vibe is not there. He definitely got that from me because I was that kid at the playground. I am not coming to you first. I am not saying hello first. I am not asking you what's your name. I am not asking you to play with me. I was that child. And so he completely got that from me. Right. So because I was that kid, if your face wasn't welcoming, if your energy wasn't welcoming,
you read the
I'm
room.
not dealing with you, right? I have to get that from you. And some kids are just beautiful that way. Like some, he's encountered kids at the playground where they're like grabbing him by the hand. And I know it's girls more than boys. Girls are much more come here
when they're
and grab you up. And then sometimes the boys, I notice, they'll kind of, hey, you want some of my snack? Boys like to. I notice they like to say they engage differently. And they'll kind of they get in boys play when they get in close proximity, they kind of want to get to know you. And I mean, autism's taught me like to sit back and observe people and how people interact. And like, because if you're dealing with someone who don't talk a lot, you have to pick up on the other nonverbals. You have to pick on, like, your nonverbal communication has to heighten. As a person who talks, we've gotten better with our nonverbals with him because you have to. Communication is more than just verbal, right?
Absolutely.
More than talking.
Absolutely.
So
that's beautiful.
I mean, he's teaching us a lot, a lot.
Absolutely. I love that. What has autism taught you, Lorenzo?
Why?
First of all,
there's always a party with this man.
I'm old school, so I don't know. Like, this is all new to me. This 20th century stuff right here, sister.
21st.
What 21st? I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, but you know what? Because it's different kinds.
It's a spectrum.
So I see now. I'm starting to notice a lot though in these kids. I'm like
so now you're observant with like children when it comes to
a lot of them got different issues, but I would never label it.
Gotcha.
Not the way I came up. I was like, okay, well, you got an issue or whatever, and they just fix that one issue. That's it. Keep it moving. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's different. The spectrum is like so wide and broad. I think that the last episode that we did with our Jasleen, she was so sweet.
Young lady, she was.
Yeah, she's awesome. And I'm like, me growing up in the 80s and 90s, and we weren't taught like anything about autism. I thought autism growing up, eventually as I got older, had one look, and that's not what she presents at all.
And that's really the major thing is that the look, I still have people to this day, he don't look autistic.
Right. Like what
you want him to look like? Because if you don't look autistic, I guess he can't be autistic.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
but you know what? If he be sitting in classes with them kids is real bad, I feel sorry for him. But sometimes I see the look in. I've seen the look in his face, like
because he's observant.
Yeah, like why am I here?
Well, that was his old class. When he was in second grade, he was a wonderful teacher, but there were two. It was a set of twins.
Okay,
they had autism, but they had other things going on. They were violent.
They had more than autism.
Yeah, they were violent.
Right.
They were self-injurious.
Oh wow! So they were
they were injured others, and they were not potty trained. I mean, these are 7-year-olds.
Oh wow!
And so it was a lot of stuff going on, and LJ was getting lost in the sauce because the teachers and the aides were focused on
They had to focus on
them
them.
so much, right? And so he's not learning. And I was picking up on stuff because sometimes, like, what is he doing in school? You know, I felt like he wasn't. That second grade year, the first half of it, I said, he is not progressing. I feel like my son's not progressing despite all the stuff he was getting, the services. Lo and behold, though, the aides, the teachers, the principals, they caught on to this finally. And while we were so sad to leave that teacher, they moved him and 2 other boys out of that classroom and put them in the other autism support classroom. Awesome. But that autism support classroom was for 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. Wow. So technically he was too young for the classroom. All the boys were. But the environment, as we know with Ms. Zachariah, the environment is too different. It was like a world apart. Wow. And under Ms. Zachariah, because of the, you know, like I said, no shade to that old teacher. I still keep in contact with her to this day. But LJ is just, I mean, like now he could, his biggest academic struggle was math. The boy is now doing math in his head. Nice. Literally, like you give him a worksheet. It's almost like he playing with you a little bit because he'll be like, literally, he was singing while he humming the other day while doing the math worksheet because it was like he wasn't even thinking. It's like he could see the answers. Wow. But prior to that, we didn't even. I was like, this boy ain't understanding math, Renzo. We would sit here on the refrigerator, 2 + 2 =
How many cookies?
How many cookies? It was frustrating because we were like, why is he not understanding this? But he had a lot of chaos in school.
And that can happen when there's too much.
It was too much, and he also has like sensory issues too.
Absolutely,
you know. And so when he switched classes, it took a little adjusting, but once he got adjusted.
So that means I'm on the spectrum. We on the spectrum. I am. I don't like certain things touching my hand.
That's another conversation.
And I don't like the sound of a shovel scraping dirt. That's it.
Listen, that was advice that I was giving people.
I already found it was scratch for it.
See?
Listen, adults, there are resources out there. I can't name them off the top of my head, but there are resources to get evaluated for it. All of us were in the 80s and 90s where it wasn't a thing. I say get evaluated. Why not? If you can get the extra resource and the extra, your tribe and meet different people, go get evaluated. What's the worst that can actually happen when you have extra help? That's the thing. What's the worst that can happen? And how?
Nothing. I mean, there's nothing going to change. You just got a little bit more information, and I think a lot of. I mean, when I scroll through social media, specifically TikTok, there's a lot of adults who got late diagnosis of autism or ADHD or anxiety disorders. And they was like, man, if I would knew this when I was, they was like, if I would knew this as a kid, and maybe I could have did this. And
it's limitless what you can do if you would have just got the help earlier.
I know. I know. So, and they do say autism has a genetic component. It's it and I believe that because there's some families whose all the children are autistic. And the mom or dad or both. And that's interesting. Something to be looked at.
Just in our family alone, I would say, and then when you go into the field of psychology or as a therapist, you start diagnosing people. But I tend not so I point the finger back on myself. There were things that I've seen as an adult where I'm like, oh wow, I can only focus on, well, we all can only focus on one thing at a time, but I really need to take my time with certain things. For autism, sometimes I see there's been oppositional defiant disorders, there's autism, there's ADHD in our family, but those things are just words that it just helps us navigate the world better when we know. And we, like you said earlier, call a thing a thing.
Call it what it is. I mean, it's just like, you ever hear people say they're diabetic and they say, you got the sugar. No, you're diabetic.
You got the sugar.
What are you talking about? You got the sugar. You're a diabetic.
Yeah. No, you got that sugar.
And then come to find out and I'm gonna tell you something about the sugar. You think that diabetes comes from eating too much sugar. is really what the body does with the food that you ingest.
Okay.
If you take food like starches. If you eat rice and potatoes, it breaks down in your body and turns to sugars.
Right. So that's why they tell you to eat complex
carbs and
if you eat the more refined ones, it's not going to digest the same way as complex.
Right. So even though eating a lot of sugar is not a good idea, but eating bowls of rice every day is also not a good idea. But we're not taught that.
You're not taught that.
And so back in the day when people had sugar, they think, I'm gonna avoid the sweets. Yeah, that's one thing you can do, but you also need to avoid high carbohydrates like white rice and white bread and potatoes and all those things. I mean, you have to have it very sparingly. And absolutely. The doctors didn't teach their patients that. I don't even think maybe back in the day they even knew that themselves. I don't know.
But for real,
the same thing with autism is like, when somebody say to me, "Oh, LJ's a little autistic," I said, "No, he is autistic.
Like,
he's
let's
not
call
a little autistic." Right. Or that's probably gonna go away when he get older. No, it's not. No. You might see less and less of his symptomology, but his autism will always be there. He will always have to manage things a little differently.
And how people treat it as like something that's like when they say and try to comfort you that way, oh, it's going to go away. This is not something that I'm receiving as bad. This is how he navigates the world.
I don't need to be somebody to tell me, oh, I think you're right. They think they're comforting you. Yeah. I'm like, I accepted the fact. I'm more than accepted that. Look, my child is amazing. Do y'all understand me?
That's what I'm saying.
My child is amazing. And I'm not saying that just because I'm saying because he is. He's an amazing little boy. He's kind. He's considerate. He's empathetic, which is something some autistic people struggle with. Yeah. At least outwardly being empathetic. He's smart. He's creative. He thinks outside the box because he has to. That part. Yeah, he's everything. I said, so no, you don't make me feel better by saying, oh, he's a really autistic, or he gonna grow out of that, girl.
He's gonna grow out of it. Or the one thing I've heard is, oh, that's okay. I see people bagging stuff at nothing wrong being a bagger, but I see people bagging stuff at ShopRite. They'll be able to get. I'm like, yo, this is not.
Damn.
I'm just saying, I've heard all of this
because they have an image in their mind of what they are limiting my child. Right? You gonna be a bagger? No, dang. He might be creating the next technology for bags. You don't know that.
You don't know that, right? Exactly. I'm telling you, like I heard it all, and it's like
I ain't never heard of that.
That's what they call comfort. That's what they call comfort.
They think they're comforting you. And I think when we were both in our denial stages, that probably was welcomed.
Right.
But not when you're in the reality of it, no.
And when you're open, when your eye is open to what is, and you have high expectations of your child regardless, and you live in their truth and you live in your own, you know that the sky is the limit. And I mean, it's of course he's amazing, and it's easy to be amazing coming from two amazing parents. So I mean, the advocacy that you guys have shown is top tier. So that would be my advice. Parents are your child's first teachers, no matter what neurodivergency or neurotypicalness they have. Yep. You are your child's first teacher. We have to model the behavior, right?
We do.
And look for your tribe. Look for the resources. That little voice in your stomach or in your head, you get that intuition, especially as a mother, like something's not quite right. They're not navigating this world in the way I feel like they can. Go get the evaluation. What's the worst that can happen? That your child receives extra help. I think a lot of it is egotistical on our part as parents, because like, again, we were raised in the era where the word slow, stupid, and retarded, it was said so much in jokes and everything. That's why we have to be careful what we laugh at. And this is why we have to be careful who we hang around.
Yes. That's you couldn't have said it better, because I mean, and I will say, and I remember having guilt around saying this, but I don't anymore because this is the cards we were dealt. But, I've seen levels of autism that's really extreme.
Yeah.
One of her daughter beat her, right?
Yeah. It's like, some people's children are dealing with some really extreme things, and we're, dealing with our set of things, but not, LJ's never been the type to hurt himself or hurt others. He's able to go to the bathroom on his own. He's able to ask for what he wants and what he needs. He's highly independent. I always joke about how the boy can work the air fryer and he know how to cut up fruit, all these things. And I mean, I'm very engaged with him behind the scenes. It's a like, well, that's your fault. You taught him how to do it. I'm like, well, hey, he knows how to do it, right? And it's just like he for instance, he likes to. I remember when he was messing with the plugs around the house, and I'm, you don't want your child messing with plugs. Duh, they're not supposed to touch that. You can get electrocuted. And he definitely got in trouble multiple times. But you know what I realized? He never played with the plugs. He was like, I'm plugging this in so it could work. His whole thing was his thing, he had a tablet. It needs to be charged. He said he done watched us do it 1,000 times. Well, I'm going to plug my tablet in to charge it. And so at around a certain age, like 6 maybe, I said, Renzo, I mean, I don't want him playing with the plug, but he's not playing with it. He's plugging something in or taking it out. Now the boy plugging in the vacuum cleaner and vacuuming every Saturday. So listen, like, how amazing of a job. He's 8 years old. He knows, and most parents are not going to let their children deal with that. We do, because he understands it's just a power source. And I need to plug it in, and I will unplug it and put it back. And like I said, it's real, because he's really waiting right now. I'm telling you right now, he's a little annoyed because he wants the vacuum.
I like that part of the autism.
Yeah. There's some benefits.
Right. I mean, but no more. There's a lot of benefits. I mean, the fact that he sees the seriousness of these objects and he knows how to deal with it.
He's gonna, let me tell you something. It ain't just he ain't playing. When he vacuum, he's not playing with y'all. He got the nook and cranny tools, and he's getting in cracks. He's vacuuming that furniture. He's getting everything. And I'm like this. Go ahead.
Do your thing. No, I love that.
He's like, it's Saturday, Mom. It's Saturday.
Next thing you know, he's gonna be playing Anita Baker and start to get up in the morning. He's gonna have that Saturday.
He's gonna vacuum. On Friday, he got pizza Friday. Look, now he knows the days.
He has his days set, and he has a routine.
He has a routine.
And let me tell you how most adults don't have a routine. Okay? Most adults don't even have routine, and he has routine.
That he's established himself, because I didn't establish Saturday.
You need to go in and take a video of that. Him playing Anita Baker. He got the Saturday morning thing, right?
Yes.
He's going to start having Sunday dinner ready for y'all soon.
Listen, I can't wait. I can't.
I'm serious. You guys have, I mean, he's growing beautifully. I love it. Well, so that way he won't get too annoyed with me. I'm gonna let y'all go. So let's pray on out.
All right, let's pray out.
Father God, thank you so much for my little cousin LJ and his beautiful parents, Ameenah and Lorenzo. Father God, thank you for this discussion. Thank you for this opportunity once again to share it to the world. Autism Appreciation Month and what we do to better ourselves and each other. Father God, I ask that you just come into our homes, send to yourself in our lives, and just do what you've been doing, God. Protecting us, providing provision, and your grace and your mercy. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Bye, LJ. You ready for me to go?
I heard that birthday cooking. No, she just praying.
Yeah, he good at that. That's another thing, right?
It's not her birthday.
You could be talking to him, and he'll look at you and listen to you, and then walk off.
Listen, I feel him right now.
I had to get on him about that, though. I said, don't do that. I was like, when somebody's talking to you, you listen to them and you respond. He said, okay. I said, now, in some cases, it's good to walk off on some people because I want to do it. So that ain't always a bad thing.
Yeah. Manners.
I wish you could be talking to me. I could just walk off.
I can't.
You know how many people talk to me? I want to walk off.
As he walks off.
As he walks off, right? That's my cousin, y'all. That's my Lorenzo. Oh my God! So you guys have an awesome Saturday.
Right.
And what again? I'm gonna put in the show notes. You said Elwin. Elwin
Yeah.
is from 0 to 5.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. I'm gonna send you.
And there's another one, isn't there? There's another one.
There's Elwin. I've heard about Spins, and I think, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll send you. I know.
Yeah, send me those, and I'll put them in the show notes.
Yeah, later. Yeah. Those are good resources, and of course, your primary doctor. Talk to your primary doctor.
Yes. Yeah. That's that part. That'd be perfect. Talk to your primary doctor, and I think from there you get a neurologist.
Yep. Well, we didn't. We worked with Elwin, and they kind of guided us, and then we wound up with the Drexel University Autism Institute and worked with their neurologist.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Send me all that information, and I'll put all that in there. Thank you so much, my beautiful cousin, and everybody.
I hope this helped someone out there.
Bye, Oprah.
I wish, right? Need a little Oprah money. All right. I'll see y'all. Love y'all.
Bye. Love you.